Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're going to be talking about computers. This is going to be kind of an introductory video going through first kind of the history of computers, how they worked throughout their history, and then I'll show you kind of the basics of how your computers of today work. So the whole basis of all computers is the idea of an electronically controlled switch. Now, the first way that this was accomplished was through a relay. Now, I actually don't have any relays, but I can describe them very easily. All a relay is you have one electromagnetic post, you have a switch that is magnetized, and so when that electromagnet is electrified, it creates a pull to that switch and makes contact, and therefore lets a current pass through that switch or gate. Now, that is a mechanical switch still. You still have a lot of moving parts, and therefore there's a lot more stress on the machine, and the machine can't make nearly as fast computations. So then we moved up to the all-electrical gate, which was the vacuum tube. Now, these can perform their tasks electronically without any moving parts, but these still have a significant downside. They're in a vacuum, therefore they expire. So these would have to be replaced all the time, and that was extremely inefficient and very expensive. Then we move on to the savior component of computer electronics. These allowed for the first non-commercial computers. Now that's a really big deal, because when computers still operated on vacuum tubes, and especially realize the only people who had a computer were either universities, obviously the military, and some large corporations. The fact that these have an infinitely longer lifespan and the fact that they're infinitely smaller means that they can allow for much, much smaller computers. And this is a large transistor as it is. So now I'm going to display to you how a transistor works. Here is a different circuit that I'll show you later, much more complicated. We're going to need to explain a lot more stuff before we get to that circuit. But this is a very simple circuit. We have just a few components here. We have a switch, we have some wires, we have a resistor, and we have an LED. Now, the size of this resistor doesn't really matter that much because I'm just resisting the power so that it doesn't burn out the LED. So it actually is dependent on the resistance of your LED as well. So it doesn't really matter what resistor this is, it just matters that it prevents the LED from getting burnt out from this 6 volts of power. This is 4 AA batteries. Okay, and the last component is the transistor. There you can see it. I had it in my hand a second ago. This is actually a different one, but I had to spread out the legs a little bit, and I'll describe those legs. So the legs on a transistor actually have a name, and we'll go over that real quick. So the first leg on the far left that is just connected to electricity but with no switch, that's called the collector. The middle leg that's connected to electricity but through a switch is called the base. And the final leg on the far right that is connected to the resistor and then LED is called the emitter. This component is extremely simple. Because I have power connected to the collector, if I give power to the base, then it will close the switch and allow electricity to move to the emitter. And I'll demonstrate switch off as well. We'll close the latch and cut off the supply of power. Turn it on. Oh, our switch kind of comes out sometimes a little bit. Turn it off. On, off. The next component that I'm going to introduce is also the most complex component that I'm going to be using to build my computer. And that is what's known as an integrated circuit. An integrated circuit is simply a ton of those transistors packed into one little circuit in a certain configuration depending on what you want those circuits to do, which are most of the time sets in quads of logic gates. And I'll describe what logic gates are so that before we get into each individual integrated circuit, you guys know what I'm talking about when I refer to the different logic gates. So next we're going to talk about binary, what it is and how it works. Computers use wires to think, and wires can only be either on or off. And so basically computers can only think in a base 2 system, either on or off. That's only 2 numbers, right? But we think in a base 10 system. So we have to find a way to translate our numbers into numbers that the computer can understand. And we do that using binary, okay? So we have a binary chart here, and we'll just start with an 8-bit binary chart, okay? So all binary charts will start with 1, and they will then double from there. So we got 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, and 256, which is, that's 8, I think. Should be. 1. Yep. Okay. There we go. So, let's say we want to describe just the number 1 in binary. All we have to do is put a 1 in the number position that we want to represent. So we got 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So the number 1 in an 8-bit system would be 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1. And let's say if it was a 9-bit system, it would just be another 0. You know, you just keep adding zeros from then on out. But any number 1 to a computer will just be 1 and then zeros going out from there. Okay, well, that's all fine and good, but as you can see, there's certain numbers that aren't on here. So it's like, how do we represent, let's just say, 3? Because as you can see, there's 1 and 2, but 3 is not on here. Well, to do that, you put a 1 in the position of any number that will add together to make the number that you're trying to represent. So we'll go 1 in the 1 position and a 1 in the 2 position. 2 plus 1 is 3. So we've already reached the number that we are trying to convert into binary. So all we have to do from here on out is 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. I'm looking at it through my camera, so it's kind of tough. But I'm sure you can even just get the idea from here on out. So like if we wanted to represent just 8, we would go 1, 0, 0, 0, and then zeros from here on out too. Or 6, we would go 1, 1, 0, and zeros from here on out, and so on. And sometimes the computer will receive another code in front of the original code that it's receiving at that time, and that will tell the computer that it is attempting to convert into ASCII, which is letters represented into binary. So there's a difference between numbers represented in binary, which is just binary numbers, and then there's also ASCII, which is the letter system for binary. And ASCII is actually more of like a man-made thing. It's more of like a unit that's more arbitrary rather than this is mathematical, you know, and it's definitive. Okay, so here's a basic introduction to logic gates. So logic gates are basically what computers use to make decisions. They send electricity through these gates, and using what's known as Boolean algebra, they can make calculations or inequalities even. So here we'll start off with the most basic logic gate, which is what's known as the AND gate. And the AND gate symbol looks like this. Now, why is it called an AND gate, right? Well, the reason why it's called an AND gate is because inputs A and B have to be on for our output, or C, to be on. We can draw what's known as a truth table for this gate. So the truth table for an AND gate here would be A, B, C. When A is 1, but B is 0, C is 0. When A is 0 and B is 1, C is still 0. But when A is 1 and B is 1, then C is 1. So that is the truth table for an AND gate. Now we'll move on to the OR gate. The OR gate looks more like a Star Trek badge. So here we have our curved bottom line and the output. So for an OR gate, inputs A or B have to be on for the output to be on as well. So we'll draw the truth table here for the OR gate. The OR gate is a lot more forgiving, which is kind of funny if you think about it. You can get a positive result from many more different combinations. So here we have A, B, and C. So if A is 1 and B is 0, well, C is still 1. If A is 0 and B is 1, obviously C is still 1. But nothing changes if they are both 1. C is still 1. So that's what's kind of interesting, is that this is a very simplistically made logic gate. Although this would be the more useful gate, this would be much easier to build. So our next most important gate is the NOT gate, or the inverter gate. And as you can see, I actually drew a line here. That's actually a diode. That's the symbol for a diode, but this is the symbol for a NOT gate. So all this does is it inverts the charge that is on the input. So if A is 1, then the output is going to be 0. So how we actually represent this with like A's, B's, and C's, we'll just go A and then A prime. So like the opposite of A, so you don't even really probably need a truth table for the NOT gate. So actually this one, I keep saying it's the most simplistic gate, but this one actually, this one has the most simplistic action for sure, but it's so common. This is a very useful gate. But it's such a simplistic gate that you don't even need me to draw a truth table for it. Alright, just reverse the charge going into the NOT gate. That's all you need to know. So now we're getting into the mixed gates. Now this is a NAND gate, which is a mix between an AND gate and a NOT gate. Now, this gate is actually super simple to make with the components that I've already showed you. So all you have to do is take an AND gate and then put a NOT gate at the end. And that's why we draw this little circle here. Is that represents the fact that there's a NOT gate on the end. So literally, you can probably figure this out yourself already. We got A, B, C. Our truth table here is going to be very similar to our AND gate, but it's just going to be inverted. So the truth table for a NAND gate is if A is 1 and B is 0, then C is 1. Because on a regular AND gate, if A were 1 and B were 0, it would be off. But we use an inverter at the end, remember? So now, if A is 0 and B is 1, well, you can tell it's probably going to be 1. If they're both on, well, that is the situation where it would be off. Because, if you think about it, when they're both on, that's when power's coming out of the actual AND gate. So you reverse the power and you get no power. And obviously, if you have no power, it's obviously just going to be on. When I move on to the next gate here, don't pay attention to the information that I wrote for this one, because I actually messed it up the first time and I changed it. So you'll be able to tell because I didn't write NAND above the gate. So you just don't pay attention to this after I start moving on to the next one. This is the proper information right here. This is the proper truth table for a NAND gate. And we already labeled A, B, and C. There you go. So if you get confused, just look at this. There's also a NOR gate. Now, a NOR gate is weird. So on an OR gate, if one is on and the other one is off, that still makes it true. So we know that if A is 1 and B is 0, well, that's going to be not true, because on the OR gate, it is true. Okay? And vice versa is going to be the same, right? And also on an OR gate, if both of them are on, then the output is also going to be on. So it's going to be off as well on the NOR gate. But the truth lies in when the NOR gate is supplied with 2 zeros. And that is what causes a 1. A true. So a NOR gate will only be true if both of its inputs are false. And the last important gate that we're going to talk about in this video is what's actually known as the exclusive OR gate. Now, this is a really weird gate, but it's actually a very useful gate that I will describe later on in the video. So how we draw an exclusive OR gate is we draw an OR gate, and then we just draw an extra little line on the back, like so. So here's an XOR, that's the letter description, XOR, but it stands for exclusive OR. So an exclusive OR gate's difference between an or a NOR gate, or even an exclusive NOR gate, which we don't need to talk about today, but it's very similar. It's just you invert the output. So we have A, B, and C. So what makes an exclusive OR gate special is that the only time an exclusive OR gate's output is true is if one input is on and the other one is off. So let's just start with A is on and B is on. That's going to be output 0. Now let's say A is off and B is off. Well, that's also going to be 0. But if we have A on and B off, well, that will be 1. And if we have A off and B on, well, you know, that'll be 1. So this is kind of a weird gate, and that's why it's called the exclusive OR gate. So that's actually all we need to know on logic gates for now. Now we can move on to the next circuit, which is actually not the most complex circuit I've ever built. I actually built the circuit that I'm about to show you, but with even more functions when I was in 7th grade, and I'm actually planning to build it up to that, again, and plus more even, but I am waiting for parts in the mail to come. So I can just show you this for now, and that's why I just want to make this introductory video with all this, information just to get out of the way for people who don't know, So the next circuit that I'm going to be showing you is what's known as an adder circuit. Now I'm going to be drawing out just a 1-bit adder. So to build a 1-bit adder circuit, we need an exclusive OR gate, and we need an AND gate. So all we do here is we put our 2 inputs into the exclusive OR gate, and then we also put our 2 inputs into the AND gate. And that's it. That's our 1-bit adder. That is one piece of a circuit that can add numbers together. And later I'll show you how to subtract them in the next video. So let's just draw A and B, and we'll draw out our truth table. Now, as you can see, we don't have just one output anymore. We have 2. So we're just going to do C and C naught. So it's just a different one, but it's also the same. I don't know. So here we'll have A, B, C, and C naught. Okay, there we go. C, C naught. Or C sub 0, whatever you want to call it. And so basically, we'll go through our truth table, and let's say A is on, but B is off. Well, that's going to produce a 1 for the exclusive OR gate, but it's not going to produce a 1 for our AND gate. So we get 1, 0 is equal to 1, 0, right? Now, let's say we vice versa it. 0, 1. We'll have the same output, 1, 0, right? But let's say they're both on, right? We got 1 and 1. Well, the exclusive OR gate is not going to be on, right? But the AND gate will be 1. And I should have flipped these around so that it actually makes sense in binary. But what we're displaying here is a carry out number. So now we can add another exclusive OR gate and AND gate pair. And we take this output and use it as the input of the next one. And that is how the carry out, carry in to each bit works for an adder. And so that's why if both of these bits are 1, the 1 plus 1 becomes 1, 0, 1, 0, and that 1 is carried to the next bit, so it's continuously added throughout the system. Okay, so I've described binary, I've described how an adder circuit works, so now I can show you the half adder is what it's actually called, because a full adder would be an 8-bit adder, but this is a 4-bit adder. This is a half adder circuit. Now, this will be able to add 2 4-bit binary numbers together, and that's represented on these 2 sets of dip switches. And so, on our dip switches, we each have represented 1, 2, 4, and 8. And then on the second dip switch, we have B's inputs of 1, 2, 4, and 8. And then here on our display, our LED display, we have 1, 2, 4, 8, and 16. Alright, so let's say we want to represent 1. Just flip 1 up, and as you can see, just the 1 light comes on. Now let's say we want to represent 2. We just flip the 2 switch up. Now let's say we want to represent 3. We'll just add the 2 switch and the 1 switch, which will then represent our 3. But now is when it gets really cool. Now we want to add a number to our A inputs. So for A, we have inputted 3. And you also remember that this is position 1 and this is position 2 for binary. So then that means that this is position 4. So let's just say we want to add 1 to our original A input of 3. We've already input our A, so now we'll just add 1 on the B side of the diff switches. And 1 plus 3 is obviously 4. So therefore, the LED representing 4 should come on, and these two should go out. Let's give it a shot. And there you go. We have now just added 2 4-bit binary numbers together using simple electronic components.